So someone has asked me about something. I do mention the same thing over and over again. It's part of my repetitive mind, isn't it? I think you'll find quite a few autistics. We have a kind of repetitive mind, don't we? So what I was saying, sometimes everybody's the same, is it? So someone said about how to change your thinking um, patterns. So it's like so the way I can tell you the way I've changed my thinking patterns. I'm not saying everybody can. People, have got their things the way that they are, and you don't need to change them. It's not like that for me though. I needed to because my own mental thought processes were going against me. Um, and didn't want that. It was like my own internal dialogue, the way I spoke to myself was very negative. And the reason, like I've said in some videos, is because of negative life experiences. The fact that, not just that, my probably all to do with my autism and the way I kind of think, and it's kind of restricted kind of thinking sometimes, isn't it? And um, when I started my sort of journey in changing my thinking patterns was when I had space in my life, because it's going to be difficult if you can do it, but it's going to be a bit more difficult if you're in a situation where um, you have negative feedback of people around you. It will be more challenging. Not that you can't do that, but it will take a bit more kind of effort and thinking about. I used to have people around me that used to be um, doubt my thoughts and feelings, and that can be, well, it's not very empowering, is it? And rather than them saying, well, that's your perspective, or that's how you feel, or respecting what I felt, people would tread over those boundaries. So a few years back, I got out of those situations, and whenever I step into them now, I can recognise it better. And this is probably going to be a few videos on how to help you change the way you think about some things, because it's not something generally you can do overnight. Um, I would say it would be a way of recognizing how you're processing things and what you are saying to yourself. So, because I wasn't like others, slower processing. So when I was growing up, it was a sort of thing, you're daft, you're slow. I was mocked quite a bit. So when I was growing up in that way, I think early childhood, you probably some adopt those thought processes for themselves. So this is one first step, I suppose. Maybe it could be. So if I spill something or knock something over, I used to, 10 years ago, say something detrimental and unkind about myself. And each time I did that, I was I'm trying to think of the word the other day, reinstilling those negative thoughts about myself. So what I would have on a daily basis was me, because I knocked something over, broke something, walked into something, I was reinstilling the low self-esteem I had, low opinion of myself. So a lot of people don't realise how important it is, what that inner dialogue is inside your head. And when it's been sort of programmed into you, it becomes a natural reaction. So now if I say something and I knock something and I say, oh, you silly so and so, to myself a little bit, it doesn't matter to me then now, because it's not something I feel deep within me. It's a joke. But now I know in my head, everybody falls over, everybody spills things, everybody bangs into things. It was too much attention was paid on me. I might do it more because to do with my autism, I lack spatial awareness, so I knock things over, but anybody being unkind to me about that, or me being unkind, is wrong, because I actually laugh at a lot of the things I do these days in that way. Humour is a good healer quite often. So to begin with, to do with starting to change thinking patterns, I would start with the basic of each time you make a mistake and do things, you'll be going back to the old thought pattern of calling yourself a name, putting yourself down. And a good way to stop that is to recognise you're doing it and go, oh, hang on, no, I'm not. Everybody does that. Because once you go along the path of, well, when you're in that path of constantly knocking yourself, whether you know it or not, that creates a difference in your anxiety. It will create a difference in how you present yourself to other people. It will create a difference in how productive you are. It will create a difference in how much confidence you have. So you're chipping away at that when you do your negative thoughts about yourself. I will say something, when you start doing it and you start changing the opinion you have of yourself, it will be uncomfortable at first because it's not what you're used to. So at first your anxiety might go up a bit because you're changing a pattern that you're used to. Because a weird kind of thing happens when you're in that negative pattern, is a comfort blanket. It's the familiar. This is why some people stay in bad situations, because it's a sort of, you know what it is, better the devil you know type thing. But the problem is you end up stuck on that same cycle, even though you know it's bad for you. You will stay on it because it's familiar, and moving off what's familiar, which is like I did, is can be scary, but it's always good to do it in little bits, only little bits, little steps, so that your mental and emotional brain can get used to the fact that you are starting to change your viewpoint, and it can get used to it. Otherwise, it will panic and I'll go, oh, something different. It might not for you, but it did mine. At first, I was very uncomfortable with the fact that I was having this good opinion of myself. It was uncomfortable because I kind of felt like when you get something good, something bad's going to happen, because that happened, I thought, in my mind, how my mindset was. But to be honest with you, things can happen anyway, at any point, any time. It's like when somebody's superstitious. You see, I always think actually I've had plenty of bad luck. Walking under this ladder is not going to be much difference. You know what I mean? So it's changing that mindset. I can do a few more on that if that isn't clear enough, because I do ramble, and it doesn't, might not make sense. I could do it in a better way maybe, but we'll try this for now. Right, bye everyone.